talk about the challenges of education in Mexico. So, my thesis is that the system implemented by our government in our schools is old and not appropriate for our current and future generations.
Well, my thesis is that Mexico is a country where education lacks importance. There are flaws that we can work on or even replace. However, there are some things that are actually good and recognized worldwide.
My thesis is that technology for educational purposes is essential nowadays. Therefore, one of the biggest challenges for Mexico's education is to have most of their students with access to new technologies such as laptops, tablets, and internet access in order to make use of new apps and programs that may help them develop new skills.
I believe that the educational system in Mexico has been the same as it did 50 years ago. There hasn't been a change in the educational model and how it's supervised. There's still a lot of economic inequality and lack of motivation from students to learn and attend the class.
Education in Mexico is actually lacking coverage in different places, but not just in places, also in social classes. Not every single social class has an equal opportunity to access education, so I think education should be equally available for everyone.
Okay, so we're gonna start with our arguments.
Why don't you start?
Okay, so we are improving the quality of our teachers via evaluations and qualifications educators have to have in order to teach. There is a database where you can check the level of education some of the workers have. It is becoming easier to know who is teaching the future of our country. There are also new programs being applied where the education is based on options and choices the students have. If you're leaning more into engineering, you personalize your course the way you seem fit. And now the 12 years of education is compulsory throughout Mexico. In order to be qualified to get a job, you have to have at least until prep school.
My first argument is about innovation. Every school should have enough resources and updated classrooms and programs as a certain amount of period passes. Each generation is different and society is always changing. So why wouldn't education change too? There is a different environment and children must be prepared to live in it and to grow. They can apply their knowledge in their world and thus making a better society for other generations. Also, as you have said, the teachers should be prepared as well. They aren't treated well as they should be paid more, and the government should pay more attention to the teachers. And also, there are other types of intelligence to grade the students' work.
Okay, my first argument is that according to data retrieved from INEGI, in Mexico, 22% of schools don't have computers and 9% do have them, but they don't work. This means that 1 out of every 5 schools don't have computers. 90% of private schools have them and 60% of public schools have them too. My second argument is that most public schools don't have internet connection or enough resources for their students to work correctly. This same census made by INEGI reveals that 54% of schools do not have access to the internet and 46% do have. That is while almost 7% availability of computers in schools, this indicator is only about connection with internet, and that without evaluating the type or quality of it. And my third argument is that government needs to invest more money into helping students' families for their payment of light, internet, and those kind of things.
I agree with you, Paola, because in 2014, a study made by the OECD showed that from 34 members, Mexico was in the 34th place with the lowest ranking results. This is telling us that one of the big issues is that school challenges are different from one region to another, and that we cannot use the same fit solution for every school, and we need to address each challenge specifically. And I think when we start looking for solutions from one region to another instead of a big solution from every school, we can get to a more clearly defined educational model.
In Mexico, just 54% from the teenagers in Mexico can access to a high school education. Particularly, for example, in Querétaro, just 27% from the total of teenagers between 15 and 18 can access to a high school education. The main two reasons why students left the school was because lack of money and because students just decided that they didn't like the way they were learning, so they didn't think it was useful. Also, main public colleges in Mexico don't have enough space and places to put many students that can get graduated year by year. This lack of money is due to money from the government invested in education is not enough because the population has grown. So, for example, the government needs to invest more money in education instead of things not so useful. For example, here in Querétaro, the mayor Pancho Dominguez invested 4.2 million pesos in just planning events for promoting his achievements. So I think this money would have a better use if we use it, if we invested on education. And education cannot reach all sectors from the citizenship. Even though it may seem, according to some statistics, high school education has reached more students each year. Data shows that these people that can access more to education are the people that have more money incomes.
I agree with you, Meli, because, well, our problem here is that there are not enough schools, and also the students are not like getting help from the government. And for example, as I said, that many of them do have a computer, but they don't have internet access in public schools. So how can we expect them to progress in their school and in their subjects if we don't give them that? The government should help as many students as they can to have access to new technologies. I agree with that.
Yes, because I think that if you can't innovate in education, so the students will just keep getting bored, and that's why they are left. That's why they become ninnies.
And they also, about innovation, they prepare people for the situations, as Freya said and as you have said, innovation.
Yeah, that's the thing I was talking about at the beginning, that we are actually in the process of innovating a program such as the one we have here in the campus. That is programs, if you're leaning more into an area of study, then you can find out what you like, and that makes it more dynamic for the student in order to learn. So you're learning something you like. It's just like they say that you cannot force a fish to climb up a tree. The fish has to go in the water. So that's the thing they're trying to implement. And I agree totally that with Frida, that slowly but surely, region by region, we can achieve this.
I believe also that pure education is delivered to those in the more vulnerable and marginalized areas of Mexico, as you said, Meli and Jackie. And these are the areas that need more support, and we're giving them the poor quality education. And here in Mexico, I think one of the biggest issues is that we have centralized education, and this is not a formula for success, because we're giving privilege to people in one specific area and not viewing the big picture in the other rural areas found in Mexico.
I totally agree. I mean, like, I haven't thought about it before, but now that you mentioned, the UNAM, Politécnico Nacional, they are all in the center of Mexico.
Mhm.
So what about people in Chiapas, people in the north that live in poor regions that don't have the resources to go to the center? Because, for example, us, we can move and we can start living in another city, but them that they don't even have money to pay the school there in their cities, how are they going to continue studying if the main universities are like really far away from their home?
So what you're proposing is like to expand the best education, like the UNAM, like the Polytechnic, to other parts of the country, like to have
Perhaps like to invest more money in education
Yeah.
because I think education is the key to.
It's not changing every school, but like making them, the ones that are already there, making them with good quality schools.
like better.
Mhm.
Like investing more money and changing the way people are learning because challenges that we will face in the future aren't the same that our parents faced 50 years ago. So I think we need to build a better educational system or to innovate it.
And you know what? This also can start with the teachers, like Pau said. Like the teachers aren't being treated well. They are the ones that reach out to the future of the country. And if you don't pay them well, if you don't invest exactly in education, it's not gonna get the results we want. Even if we change it from the core, if the teachers are not like agreeing with it, with the salary they have, it's not gonna change everything.
Yeah, teachers are the ones, like you said, that are like shaping the future, the young kids. So, what are we expecting if people keep saying things like, "No, I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to end up being a teacher," and
Also, they are so underestimated, and I think that teacher is one key job
Yeah.
for the future.
And I believe that they have to get a better education themselves, because not everyone is qualified to be a teacher. Not everyone has the patience to deal with a classroom of 40 people.
And for that, the government needs to give them like facilities, that like how are they going to get a master's in education if they don't have the money? And we return to the same point that is government needs to invest in education for teachers too.
And also like to put some courses so teachers can like
Learn.
Can keep updated with
like
society.
keep up to date because I think most of the teachers nowadays doesn't even study pedagogy.
So, yeah.
Pedagogy, and I think that learning pedagogy is like a key point because I think there are people that know a lot but they don't know how to teach because it is a really difficult process, I think, even for us.
Yeah, because not every student learns the same way. So, as you have said about teachers and pedagogy, they also should learn that, as I said before, every child learns a different way, and they have different abilities too. There shouldn't be always teaching math and language. While they are important, I think as a person they can be better, the children, if they teach every other kind of intelligence that they appear in the psychological test sometimes we take about our abilities, our interests, like about you intelligence, like people intelligence, nature intelligence, music intelligence, art intelligence. I think they are very important.
Yeah, that's why I think we need like to innovate on the education.
Yeah, I think everything comes back to innovating, but also teachers and the things they learn and the things that teachers learn.
Another thing I think it relates directly is the lack of motivation from students to learn and attend class. Education in Mexico is perceived as to be static, in a static stage in our lives that everyone should go through.
like old-fashioned.
And not a dynamic process, and not like a. We're seeing students see this as a position, as an asset. We're seen in school as assets rather than being like privileged to attend school. And this system, I think it's designated to reward like the being the same kind of people that everyone, and studying the same way than others, and it takes away the hints of motivation that if a student wants to innovate, most of the people around him would say like, oh, you can't because you're going out of the box and not seeing what society think is right.
Yeah, totally. And I think it comes back to the education system, that we have that lack of motivation because we know we are a grade. Like you cannot have the knowledge of practice because you cannot do a test. You know what I mean? Like you cannot. You have the knowledge. You know how to apply it, but the test is another thing. You go ahead in a classroom with another 40 people and you start taking a test that you don't know what it's about. You don't know how to apply that. And I believe that's not a way we should be graded. Because a piece of paper doesn't define your knowledge, doesn't define who you are. So I believe everything you're saying, the other intelligence we can use in order to improve our education system, in order to no longer be a grade.
In order to motivate the students to
learn
learn something they are interested about.
Yeah,
not
it can
just
also help them become a better adult and to decide to have a better idea of what they want to study in the future.
Yeah, because learning has been it's a military system now.
we have
You-
made it a routine
Yeah,
in life.
yeah, totally. We come to school because we have to get education, but we don't really care. We don't really care what happens to us. We don't want to learn because it involves being like a soldier. Like you cannot think by yourself.
we just came to school because we have like this idea that if you don't get good grades and you don't get a good education, you will be a failure in life.
Exactly.
And that shouldn't be true because they say that if you don't access a good education, you can get into a good college. And if you don't get a good college, you will starve. So I think that kind of sucks.
Yeah, but most of the brilliant minds of the century haven't gone to college. So
Or drop out.
I think or drop out. And this is exactly why. Because it's not an education. It's not like a place where you can learn and you can expand your mind.
Where
It's
you
only
can-
closing it more.
Imagine if those people you're talking about, the big minds of the century, if they have gone to school and they have been motivated to continue their studies, what else could have they done?
Yeah. If they didn't have the education, imagine what would happen if they did.
Albert Einstein failed school. So he felt like a failure in life and he was freaking Albert Einstein.
Yeah, totally. I understand it completely. So that's the thing. We have to reach into the heart of education and change it from there.
We need to make like a new system where we seem like all the strong areas in each kid and to explode it at the most we can, at the maximum.
We have to innovate everything, the system, the programs, the way students learn, the way the teachers teach, everything.
And we should like embrace technology more because now educate most like lessons like Julio Profe or Khan Academy, you just need internet
Yeah.
and a computer.
Yes, we need a system where the government actually cares about education and put it at like their top 10 big problems to solve. Because I mean, we get to the same point. Education is the base for everything.
But you know what? I get it that the government has to invest more in school and education, but I find it really hard that they will, because if we are less educated than them, then they can manipulate us into doing everything they want. And I believe that all of this also starts at home. The education your parents are providing you,
Yeah.
the innovation that comes from your parents. I believe everything is connected in some way, and even if the government doesn't invest in education, we have to try to motivate our children that no, you're not a grave, that no, you're not a soldier. You are someone that will go very far on life. And I believe we can do it, like from home.
That's a really good point. I mean, education starts at home. However, it would be wonderful if government help us with this. I mean, imagine if every kid has the chance to go to school, to college, finish college doesn't give you doesn't assure you that you will be successful. However, it is a great tool nowadays that with this world that we are a lot of people in need and everyone is competing. So yes, finish college doesn't assure you success. However, it helps you to have one. So
That's also a big issue I find, what you said, Jackie, that we're competing. Because school and learning should not be about competing with others, it should be about sharing and making our ideas better. If I share my idea with you, you may have another point of view and make it even better. And the school educational model is based on, it's like an industry schedule where you go 8 hours a day, you have a break, and it hasn't innovated. And that's why we think we always have to compete, because industries always compete between one another and they're not sharing.
exactly, that is part of the issue we are living.
I think instead of sharing, it should be cooperating.
Cooperating.
To do something better, something
Like to work
for the
together.
greater
To
good.
work.
Because also in your job life, it is really difficult that you will be alone. Most of the people have co-workers and they do projects together.
That is the heart of the wars we're living right now. The competition for being better, the competition that my race is better than yours, and that's exactly why we have to change education,
To change that. way
to
of
change
thinking.
the way of thinking, and to change wars, and to be at peace as a humanity finally.
Yes, to use technologies as something good and not as to make weapons and things like that.
And destroy one
There's-
another.
There's so many things we can do with technology if we only use it right.
Exactly.
So many things. It's
Yes,
unbelievable.
technology is the key for the future.
I mean, but you agree that we need minds that know how to to expand the good things, expand the good side of technology, not to join the dark side.
Yes, exactly.
And do chemical weapons that are killing millions
Yes,
and
of
millions
course.
of innocent kids.
Yeah, that's infuriating. Really, education is the base of all things, and no one has it.
But now the challenge is, how are we going to educate adults because of course education starts at home.
Yeah.
And most of the kids
Yeah,
do
that's
what
what
their
I'm
parents
wondering.
tell them to do. So how are we going to educate parents?
That's actually a really good point. Maybe we can use the same things we're using for children. We can use the lecture we read about MOOCs. People can actually get education from their technology at home, even if you're 30, 40,
Yeah,
50.
and they have, you can get a certification by paying, and adults can pay. So
Yeah,
they
exactly.
can educate themselves.
But how? Well, okay, you can.
How are you
get-
going to motivate them to access to that? No?
Well, not exactly motivation about this kind of education, but I'm thinking more like their values.
I think that nowadays everyone is complaining about our government or like other governments from other parts of the world. But if they keep complaining, we can like motivate them. If you want to complain, that's fine, but do something about it. Educate yourself and stop complaining. You can complain, but also do something about it to change.
You can add a little grain of salt.
That's also what we were talking about, the lack of motivation. And mainly, I think you said when that most children and kids drop out from school because they don't find equality education, and they feel like joining gangs or another things outside school may help them do something with their life if they're not getting education.
And that's why we have to improve everything. Because if you are interested enough to go to college, if you're interested enough to do an activity that college offers you or even a public school offers you, then you won't have the need to join a gang or have the need to be outside on the streets doing nothing. Like the motivation is also a big factor.
And if you are motivated enough to go to college or to take a class or something, you should have the resources to do it. Because I mean, I actually think that there are many kids in the streets that they have the motivation, but they don't have
They don't have the money.
the money, the resources to do it. So yes, motivation is important, but also like, how are we going to pay for it if something else?
So we have come to the conclusion that there are three big issues and that are the challenges of education in Mexico, and it is innovation, motivation, and economic equality. And that's about it. This is the whole debate.
How about
Sum up. Yeah.
Yes. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.